Hello, and welcome to the Graveyard Media Podcast, episode 67 for the week of November 19th, 2018. I'm your host, Saine Grey. With me is Dalsson.
What? Who? I'm here. I'm alive.
And Thel.
You know what I really like doing?
No.
I really like using the phrase titular whenever I talk about something. I'm trying to find a good place to use it where it's like slightly inappropriate but not necessarily wrong, you know what I'm saying? And that's when the titular cars go on an adventure. Something like that, you know?
Yeah. All right.
I just need to find my baby at the right point in time where I can do that.
Well, now that you've warned us, it's not going to be surprising.
But when will I do it? That's the surprising part.
Not really, but okay. We assume when you're talking about something that has a title, which is everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to find something that doesn't have a title.
That'd be really surprising.
The titular titleless movie is a movie that...
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So why don't we get right into it? Who wants to start this week?
Yeah, who wants to start this week?
Wasn't the thing about games and shows and movies we watched this week something that we do?
Usually.
I was waiting for that. Oh yeah, fuck it. Alright, fuck it. I think the only thing that I've done that you guys haven't this week, is I played a little bit of The Witcher 1. And,
Why?
oh, okay, long story short, and this is like a really, really roundabout way of things, it's like, so I played Fallout 76, right? And I was like...
Oh, wait. Give me a second. I fucked something up on my end.
Oh no!
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh,
How did you do
okay.
that?
My audio settings got changed at some point, and I was fucking with them. And I accidentally muted, though. But you're good now.
I
Okay,
see.
so anyway, the reason that I decided to play The Witcher 1 was this weird roundabout, fucking thought process, that I had. I played Fallout 76, and I wasn't expecting much of a story, and there was a little bit of a story in Fallout 76 to its defense, but I was sort of like longing for the days of those good old story-based CRPGs like the Fallouts used to be. So I was like, I want to play a story-heavy game, and I hear The Witcher 3 is one of those. But I don't want to play The Witcher 3 because I've already started The Witcher 1 multiple times and then had my fucking hard drive wiped like 3 times while playing through this fucking game. And I have it and The Witcher 2, so I might as fucking well. So I decided to play The Witcher 1.
That was your first mistake.
Yeah. The first chapter is the first chapter that I've played a million times. The second chapter is a fucking asshole bastard, not because it's hard, but because it's incredibly tedious and like takes you 10 hours, most of which is legitimately running from like this point to talk to this person, then physically running like all the way around town to this person, then to this person,
and then
going...
the sun goes down and wolves come out of nowhere, and then you spend 10 minutes fighting with a combat system to kill wolves, and then you can continue running to that same NPC you've been running to the whole time.
Well, not only that, but then you have to run over to the fucking you have to run over back to an NPC or back to the fucking bar, talk to the guy, go to sleep so you can wake up in morning so you know where the fucking guy is this time. So you go over there, then you talk to him, then you have to talk to another guy, which unfortunately, because you did this other quest in the story quest, this person isn't in there anymore, and you have no fucking idea where he is, and you have to run into his ass, having been, like, taken down in the goddamn swamp, to be able to turn in the fucking quest you got from him to get a bunch of assholes as skulls. Chapter 2 is a fucking asshole bastard, and I hate it. It is the worst shit. And what kept me going through it is everything I heard is, oh, yeah, Chapter 2 of The Witcher 1, literally the worst part in all of the Witcher games. Every one. Just the fucking absolute piece of shit. I was like, okay, well, it gets better after that. Yeah, okay, so I played, and so far Chapter 3 has been, as they've said, better than after that. What you do in Chapter 3 is, you start out in the trade quarter, you do some stuff in the trade quarter, get a couple of quests that are for other places, you do a party, and then you leave the trade quarter and go out into the swamp. thankfully, you now have a fast travel system to the swamp, so you fast travel to the swamp, do a couple things, get a couple side quests in there for other places, and do the side quests you got in the swamp. Then you go back into town, which is in the sewers, do a couple of things over there. Then the bank is robbed, you go back to the trade corner, and it works kind of linearly like you would hope that it would, rather than having to run back and forth and fucking paying the ferryman every time you want to go to the swamp and then going to sleep or coming back during the day because no one in the swamp is awake during the fucking night.
It still sounds awful. It's taking you longer to fucking explain Chapter 3 than I was able to tolerate Chapter 2.
Well, here's the thing. If you were only able to tolerate Chapter 2 for that long, you didn't get through very much of it.
No, I didn't, because it's shitty.
Yeah,
and it's not fun.
I think Witcher 1 is literally like
it's the reason that I haven't played Witcher 2 or Witcher 3.
Yeah, honestly, I think Witcher 1 and 2 are just skippable. You might as well just go right into 3, and like you'll miss stuff, but you would miss stuff if you played Witcher 1 because you haven't read any of the books. So like,
yeah,
that's true.
I feel like you might as well just play Witcher 3 because you'll be just as experienced with it as anyone else would be having played 1 and 2, kind of. I don't know. It's just...
Yeah. I don't think The Witcher is a bad game. It just has, like, one bad part. Because, like, here's the thing. In the way that Chapter 3 works, like, you know, going in between places is what I would expect from what essentially it is. This game is, like, a CRPG. It's
I don't think the combat's
3D.
that good, though. Like, the combat really holds it back. And, and as good as the writing may be in the first Witcher, like, the combat and the tedium of a lot of the early game is just not worth it. I would almost go so far as to say it is. The writing is really, really good. I mean, if you that's the thing. I would rather just read a book. I'd rather just read some of the Witcher books than play through that game because the gameplay was so detrimental to it that it was not a fun game. So
I didn't enjoy like any part of The Witcher 1. And, it's very sad that I didn't enjoy any part of The Witcher 1 because I feel like I really would like The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3 because I heard that pretty much everything that I've said about them and how shitty they are is like not the case. But
yeah, and the problem is the combat gets like really, really simplistic the longer you go because like once you get a grasp on the basic thing, it's like, okay, well, here's where I put my points in while I'm leveling up. And now all I have to do is drink fucking swallow every time I get into a hard combat, or just go into group style when there's a bunch of fucking dudes.
Yeah, and that's
my sword based on this.
And that's kind of where I was at. Like, I pinned down how to do the combat real fast, and it wasn't challenging. And I mean, other than like things were murdering you if you weren't paying enough attention, but like I don't know, it just wasn't that fun.
Right.
And that's why I feel like, but Witcher 3 is better by, in a lot of ways. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like if you're going to skip The Witcher 1, you might as well also just skip The Witcher 2 and just play Witcher 3. Like, I understand that, for you, it might be worth getting through that for the story. And I think that's fine. But I would not recommend that to most people. Is kind of
yeah. And especially like we were talking earlier in the year about Kingdom Come Deliverance,
right?
And how that a lot of people were really put off by how janky that game is.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, there's a lot of jank in this game that, like, I was talking to Dalsson about it earlier, and it was like, yeah, this was made in, the time where a lot of people were looking at Oblivion like, wow, can you fucking believe the goddamn polish in this game? I only ran into 22 fucking bugs in the last hour, and none of them broke any of my quests. That's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
It's like, this is 2006, like, it's essentially a 3D CRPG, and one of the things that I feel like could really help
I feel like Oblivion was still criticized back then for being
sure. Yeah. But, like, compared to a game like fucking Vampire the Masquerade, which is the jankiest, buggiest, insanest fucking game I've ever played, and one of those that I've only ever played to completion.
To the point where there is a bug that will stop your progress, period, unless you download the unofficial patch. It's not even, like, reproducible. It's just, it's going to happen. You're going to run into this bug. If you don't have the patch, you cannot play the game.
Yeah, like straight up. And even then the game is like incredibly buggy. The stealth literally does not work. it's fucking insane how crazy Vampire the Masquerade is, and Witcher is nowhere near that, but it does have a lot of jank, especially with like forwarding quests and making some quests like, yo, you can't go back to this person because like right now you can't turn in this quest because you fucked something up in a previous quest. Congratulations, jackass, you fucked up. And that's been mostly because like the game does open up in Chapter 3, and also you get a fast travel system, which is fucking great and incredibly needed. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's why I say I think it's kind of a bad game. It's because it's not a game I would recommend to most people, and I feel like that is the bar for me, whether or not I would recommend it to people. So
I sort of don't like see it in the same way, because like I wouldn't recommend the movie Solaris to most people, but I think it's a fucking incredible movie. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know.
It's like, you know, I wouldn't recommend it to most people because it's incredibly slow, especially in like the first part. It's just like the slowest possible sci-fi. It essentially like info dumps on you in the first part, and in the second part, there's a lot of emotional resonance, but it still has that very deliberate slow pace. But it's an incredible movie because of how it's shot and the emotional resonance that comes with it. Tarkovsky was like a fucking great science fiction director, and it's, you know, but he's not someone I would recommend to everyone.
Right.
Well, I don't even mean everyone, but I mean at least fans of the genre. I wouldn't I don't think I would recommend Witcher to basically anyone. The only people I would really recommend it to would be like you. So I don't know.
One of the things that I think it could really benefit for, and it took like it went the completely opposite direction, which I suppose actually worked really well in its benefit, which is nice. This game felt like just like a 3D CRPG where you move Geralt around with the fucking, you know, arrow keys instead of, well, you can also just use the mouse. I feel like what it would have really, you know, helped it is if it had more CRPG in it. By that I mean if it had like that top-down thing where you could sort of scroll to the place that you wanted Geralt to go, click on that, and then he sort of just auto-passed there, rather than having to actively move his fucking slow ass directly over to the fucking back to the end.
It seems like a weird half step. It seems like a weird half step between like a CRPG and Diablo, even though Diablo already kind of did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I would almost like, if you're interested in the story, I would almost recommend just watching a Let's Play of it or something.
Maybe.
So
or doing what I did, which I installed a mod that increases everything's speed by like 25%. Which I haven't found any bad.
Thought that was a slog.
Oh yeah, and I still, even so, I still thought that Chapter 2 was a slog. And surprisingly, I haven't found any balance issues with it yet that would impact like me positively. There were a couple balance issues where I think some dudes started attacking me in a cutscene, but it was okay.
Right.
Because some spiders came out of the swamp and started fucking chomping on them.
Yeah. I think that the point that I stopped in The Witcher, I believe it was in Chapter 2. It was like the first time I went to the swamp, there was this big red.
Yeah, like in the very beginning. And that unlike, like, it seems like it's like a monster that like persists throughout the swamp, because it is like it keeps popping up in multiple places. So you think it's like one group of monsters that's just a bastard. That thing is a boss. Like straight up a boss. I didn't know that at first.
Right.
So I just like always avoided that type of enemy, but then I killed it.
But I never got the chance to avoid it because it also spits projectiles that deal like 50% of your health, and there's no way to dodge them because it's not an action game. It calculates hits. So it's either going to hit you or it doesn't.
Yeah, that is one of the 50% problems.
50% of your health, and it's like you can't
I don't think it ever did 50% of my health. It didn't even do like a fourth of my health. The spits, I mean. Yeah, I mean, the poison was kind of a bastard, but I think the poison only really affects you.
Well, that's just in the minutia of the game. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like I would rather just play a normal CRPG at that point. So
and
what I'm getting at though is that the point that I was at, I was already a bitch to play. I'm pretty sure I spent like 4 hours in town without fighting a single thing, just running back and forth. And then I got to that point and I could not make any progress whatsoever. And it was already a bastard to make progress without having to deal with the combat. So like, I was just like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Right. I have trouble with any CRPGs that I don't like the combat in. Because even if the point of the game isn't necessarily the combat, if the combat is bad, then I feel like I'm hamstrung to do anything in the game. So I don't know. Like, and I felt that way about other CRPGs as well, but not to the extent in Witcher. Like, that just made me want to not play it. So I don't know. I also got a hilarious bug where Geralt's face turned into the Scream.
I remember that.
Like this ghost face from Scream. Like,
yeah, his face was just like melting. He was like,
yeah, he had like a really long mouth. He straight up looked like Ghostface from Scream. Is hilarious.
My god,
that was probably the best bug I had ever experienced.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Witcher patch notes removed Herobrine.
Shit. He was my favorite character to play as. Fuck.
So I don't know. Do you guys want to talk about Fallout 76 again?
Not really. I mean, I didn't play any more of it.
No, well, I mean, like,
or
I don't know
the
game.
Have, though.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if you guys want it, that's fine.
Right.
I gotta go grab more drink.
Well, do you, Dalsson, or do you think your thoughts are kind of...
I don't know. My thoughts are kind of out there. I really like it. I really like the... Like, as a mainline Fallout game, I wouldn't like it, but it's not a mainline Fallout game. Like, it's not like this is going to block progress on Fallout 5. It's not like this is going to mean that Starfield is going to come out later. It's Elder Scrolls 6 isn't going to come out later. It's still going to come out, like, on the time frame we expected, like, Fallout 4 to come from compared to Fallout 3, right?
People have... Or they said that they were planning on using the same engine for the next Fallout and the next Elder Scrolls.
Interesting.
Which... I don't know. I'm of two minds about. On one hand, I don't think reusing an engine is a terrible idea, but on the other hand, this engine has been upgraded over and over again for so long that I think it might be time for a total rewrite because it's kind of janky in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that when you introduce some of the kinds of things that these Gamebryo or whatever it's called engine has, then it does introduce problems. Like the fact that you can move around basically any item and in the way that you can. I think that is one of those mechanically in an engine, one of those things that always seems to jank things.
Definitely.
I mean, like even in games like Amnesia, I don't know. It's just every time you can rotate and move objects and place them places, it always causes problems. I don't know why. It just seems like that goes hand in hand with it. And I don't know, like something about how they have to do the physics with objects maybe has something to do with combat, which makes combat feel weird. I don't know. That being said, like Fallout's combat is probably my favorite. Out of Fallout 76's combat is my favorite out of all of the Fallout games. So I don't know.
See, I really like Fallout 76. I don't know. I get everybody's problem with it. Everybody hates it. It seems like that's what the consensus seems to be.
I don't think everyone hates it. I think the loudest people definitely hate it.
Yeah, and but like a lot of people really don't like it, and like I see their issues with the game, but I don't know what they were expecting. They were like, this game sucks because the reload animation from Fallout 4 wasn't fixed on the lever action rifle. And it's like, all right, well, granted, they probably should have fixed that because it was a very well-known bug. Like, that's it? That's what fucking breaks the game for you? Is that it?
Yeah, I feel like there's like I feel like there are a lot of like legitimate issues. Like it doesn't look amazing. It is pretty buggy. Like there are
some people just find it boring because of the lack of story and NPCs, and I get that stuff. But like
Even then, I wouldn't say there's a lack of story. I just think how it's presented is like
not as interesting to some people.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, so the issue with audio logs, right? Mm-hmm. Oh my god, my dogs won't shut up. The issue with audio logs, like, it's not a bad idea on paper to make the story presented that way, but when it is also a multiplayer game, it makes it really difficult to pay attention to any of the story.
Right.
So when I'm interested in looking at story aspects, I'm almost would rather do that on my own, which I have played a decent amount of it just single player, because I want to go back and read stuff. But at the same time, when I'm with someone, like even you, who's also really interested in the lore, neither of us want to stand around and just read a terminal the whole time. So it's just...
Right.
And, like, I don't know that an NPC would have been better, but I also think maybe that just that many number of audio logs probably wasn't the way to go either.
Right.
Maybe, like, more actual red notes would be better, because then I could skim it real fast, but I don't know.
Well, see, I always listen to the audio logs that you can put in your Pip-Boy and play, but I won't stand there and listen to the ones in the terminal or anything, because if I could just listen to the Pip-Boy playing it while I do other stuff, that's fine. But
I always take the holotapes, even if I don't listen to them, because I'll come back to them eventually. The problem is, like, reading all of the notes in the terminals is not... Right. Especially when there's a lot of them. There's been some terminals that have, like, 10 pages of logs, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's too much.
I'll be right back.
But
that being said, like
really...
it's some of my favorite storytelling is like the small micro stories that they have littered around the universe. I think this is one of the best games for world building out of any of the Fallouts.
This one happens so much closer to the times that the bombs actually fell, like even before Fallout 1. So like, it's interesting to see it from that perspective too.
Yeah.
And like even the story that the game is like going through with the Scorched, like it's not a bad, like, it's not bad storytelling. It's not like stupid writing or anything like Fallout 4 was. So like there's like massive improvements from the last installment of Fallout, and this is a side game. And so like
I really don't understand how people can say why people can't care about a quest because they know that the people that they're listening to are dead, probably. Like, yeah. I don't understand how that makes a difference. Like
I did it. Okay, here's a minor spoiler for a quest that you find in some dick off place. I did a quest where I had to find like a missing boy, right? Listen to an audio log of him getting kidnapped by a creepy old guy, and I'm like, oh no, he's gonna get raped and
that
murdered.
Sounds like the plot of Fallout 4.
Yeah. So I had to fight, but yeah, except I just found an audio log, and I'm like, oh, well, I gotta solve this mystery, because a robot was like, I don't know what happened, and I know it happened so long ago, and he's probably dead, but I want you to find out for me. So I did, and I tracked him down to like this steel mining company, and I read audio logs like this creepy old guy didn't kidnap the kid to kidnap a child. This child was the steel factory's son, and he wanted to ransom the boy for better working conditions. So it goes back to the theme of how shitty the working conditions were around this place, which they kind of scatter everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, the boy winds up, like, I don't know, kicking the guy in the nuts and escaping or something while he's down, and then he finds his way into a vault. So you actually find out that this kid who you have assumed gotten kidnapped and murdered actually found his way into a vault and is straight up probably still alive. Because it's only been like 25 years, so he's probably alive.
Right.
So like,
and if it was Vault 76, he's a player.
Yeah. But yeah, so like it's you know, like, you don't know that everybody's dead. That kid straight up turned out to be alive. Like, you're not going to find the kid, but you're going to learn what happened to him, and that's interesting.
Yeah. And I know that, like, so you, like, another minor spoiler, but this is like super early into the game. The airport is fucked. Like, you get there and it's just covered in dead bodies and Scorch. But like,
the robots are telling you like, oh no, the Scorched have overrun that place. They need help, but if you go anywhere near it, you're probably gonna get hurt. And it turns out they don't need help. Everybody's fucking dead.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I don't think it's 100%. Like, there's indications that people also were able to maybe leave. So like, yeah, certainly a lot of people who were there are dead, and it's obviously the base is overrun, but like you don't know that everyone there died. Obviously, the overseer guy or lady was there and left. So I don't know. Like it's just I don't understand why people need to turn it into an NPC. Like I don't know why that makes the difference for people. Just seems odd to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of surprised they didn't do in Fallout 4. And this is like way off topic.
Not really.
In Fallout 4, right? One of the things that The Witcher did, right, was it did that whole Gwent thing where it had like essentially a fucking card game inside of the game that everyone really liked.
Yeah.
I'm legitimately surprised that after seeing the success of that, Bethesda didn't bring back Tragic the Garnering from Fallout 2.
Okay, or
and
Caravan.
I think that they can.
Or Caravan from New Vegas.
Oh yeah, or Caravan. I just feel like that like a legitimate Magic the Gathering card game after like the success of The Witcher 3 would be the next big step.
I don't know. I think people looked at Gwent differently because Gwent was different enough from other
Gwent so much that they flat out turned it into a standalone game.
Well, yeah.
I think they turned it into 2 standalone games.
Gwent and
Gwent's in the new adventure game that's set in the Witcher universe. The Witcher Tales, which is essentially a CRPG about the Witcher, but instead of combat, you play Gwent.
Weird. Okay.
Which sounds cool as hell, TBH.
Yeah, I don't know, like...
somebody brings up Wizards of the Coast might be really likely to go after Bethesda about that, though.
I mean... they had to like.
Well, I don't know. That clearly falls into parody, though. But...
Yeah, and Fallout 2 had to like specifically go, "Hi, we're not Scientology, but let me tell you what we are."
Oh yeah, because regardless of whether it falls under parody, Scientology would go after somebody.
Fucking Christ! It's weird to me. Like I do hear every once in a while someone, and this was like before Fallout 4 came out. I heard people like talking about how Fallout 3 was too silly and didn't take the source material seriously. One of the major factions in Fallout 2 was literally just Scientology. There was a quest where you rescued a ghoul from like in a fucking coffin, and it turns out he was just sleeping the whole time. Wake him up. Hey, dude, go back to. It's like, oh shit, oh fuck, thanks, man.
How long was he asleep?
What was it? It was like 5 years or something.
Oh, so how did he survive in that coffin for so long without any nourishment? Ghouls still need to eat. How did he survive in that coffin for so long without having any light?
The dude knew he was asleep.
Yeah, the dude knew he was asleep? So how did he survive without eating?
I mean, people complain about the little minutia of stuff in Fallout, but like the game... People are fucking stupid if they think the game isn't silly as hell, because the Wild Wasteland perk in New Vegas is a perfect example of like what those games are. All of the weirdest shit in the Wild Wasteland version is like what the game is. So anybody who's trying to take it too seriously is stupid.
Yeah, like that's like Fallout 1 and 2 just straight up you had Wild Wasteland on
that game just was wacky. Like and for people to be like, "Oh, like if anything 3 was a really weird tone shift for that game."
Yeah,
because it took itself too seriously.
Yeah.
So, but and then people complain about like Indy with his hat in the refrigerator, and it's like,
oh yeah,
that's perfect. That's like a joke. Yeah. Like, why is anybody upset about that? Like
that is like absolutely one of the perfect jokes. Yeah.
So people, I don't know. When it comes to Fallout, people get crazy anyway, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm like really just floored by how negative people are about it, because it's like, yeah, I agree with basically all of the complaints about it, but I don't see how that adds up to the game being utter garbage. Maybe it's just price. Maybe that's it. Maybe if they released it at $40, people wouldn't be losing their minds. You know?
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, that's why I ain't fucking buying that shit. $60 goddamn dollars. Fuck that. God. I wasn't gonna pay that shit for No Man's Sky. I ain't paying that shit for a Fallout game without no NPCs. Fuck that.
You ain't paying that shit for any.
Well, you wouldn't pay for it if it were $40.
Essentially, yeah,
so
pretty much.
So it doesn't matter how much it costs, though. Like you weren't gonna pay that anyway. So
yeah,
I don't see.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the point is, like,
I mean, because if it was positioned as like a budget title, right?
Yeah.
Then maybe people wouldn't have looked at it as, like, oh, this is just a mod for Fallout 4. This is not worth $60. People wouldn't have looked at it like, oh, you know, this is what the Fallout will be for the future, even though they've always said that it wouldn't. Like, I don't know. If it was positioned as a side game, then people would have taken it as a side game more than it being $60. But Bethesda's always
supposed to be positioned as a side game. They keep saying that over and over again.
Yeah, but it
not interfering.
But it isn't priced that way though. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this is a problem overall with Bethesda. Like, they price their Fallout 4 VR, which is the identical game but in VR, for $60. They did the same thing for like every new release of Skyrim. Unless you already had it or whatever, like that was back at full price. So, you know, I just think that they're too inflexible with how their pay structure, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, everything does go on sale, but that is a little bit questionable because it's on Bethesda's BethesdaNet. It's on BethesdaBattle.net.
Yeah, well, okay, but like Fallout 4 is on sale right now for $10. And it came out like what, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
On
so
BethesdaNet?
Like, no, on Steam, but
yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's on.
Steam...
It's not on sale on Bethesda.
But Bethesda is the one who chooses when to put things on sale. So
that is true.
So like, it's not like, I mean, it might just end up where you pay, you know, the code for it goes on sale on a website. You know what I mean? Like, like Amazon might carry the code at a discounted price, or a Green Man might have a code for it later. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't know. You know, maybe on their client they'll do a sale eventually, but I don't know. Yeah. So I just and also like people are complaining about like server issues and stuff. It's an online game on launch week. It's always fucked up. Like
every single company in the world.
Online game that I've played like this has been fucked up on launch week.
I think the only launch that I've had that I've seen even remotely recently that went smoothly was Warframe's Fortuna, and they like I don't know how they did it.
That's even different because
that's not even the launch of a game.
That's a
like
patch of an ongoing game. Like that's not the same. Yeah.
So it's barely comparable, but yeah, every online game has issues like this on launch.
Someone in our chat said, I didn't realize people cared so much about audio logs in the form of people that never change locations.
yeah, that's it. That's what it is. That's the difference. If it's an NPC, it's just an NPC standing there that talks to you like an audio log.
Well, the difference is mostly just because of the fact that you can talk to them back.
Right.
And sometimes your dialogue can change. Not in Fallout 4, don't get me wrong, but...
So, I don't know. Like...
You can make small choices about how the conversation plays out. And you can use your skills in interesting ways and level up the skills.
But that's the thing, Thel. You're thinking about it logically. Other people are saying, this is worse than Fallout 4 because there's no NPCs in it. And it's like the NPCs in Fallout 4 were essentially just storybooks that you talked to.
Oh, absolutely. Completely fucking agree.
And people are complaining about them removing the NPCs for this Fallout 4 mod. They want the Fallout 4
Actually, some of the follower NPCs were really good. Yeah. Nick Valentine was really good.
The one good character in the entire game. Yes, I know.
Yeah, Nick Valentine, and there was like one. There's like one that Nick Valentine works with you a little bit. That's really fun. Like, having the player character be able to speak was good for exactly one quest, and that was the Silver Shroud quest, which is fantastic.
This fucking Silver Shroud. Yeah, but that kind of harkens back to my point. The Nick Valentine player quest. What did you ever do the companion quest for Nick Valentine?
Oh yeah.
You know what you're doing, right? Chain. You're running around finding audio logs for somebody that's long dead because Nick Valentine wants you to. So what's the difference between doing it for a synth that follows you and a robot that stays in one place?
Because you can talk to the synth that follows you about it and like gain some of his backstory rather than like just the backstories of these guys. You're gaining both of them at the same time, essentially.
Okay, yeah,
but he's still just an audio dispenser.
He's not even.
Yeah.
He's not even.
And in Fallout 4, this shit is.
Yeah,
it's not. Fallout 4 was not good.
And that's where the negativity is coming from. It's worse than Fallout 4 is what people are saying, and I completely disagree.
You know,
with that.
like if if people are comparing this to like New Vegas, I would understand
which is what I'm comparing it to, essentially.
Which is what you should be comparing it to. Don't get me wrong.
And the first
but I mean, like, it's just if it was just New Vegas and this game, I would understand a lot of these complaints a little bit more. But we're playing this game following 4, which had no choices in it, so I don't get it. And almost I almost think it would be better had it just followed New Vegas, because then it would be different enough that people wouldn't look at it as if it were the same thing. You know?
Right.
It's just I don't. It's really frustrating to me to see how negative people have been about it. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying this game is amazing and everyone should play it and it's for everyone. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the amount of like vitriol towards it has been disproportionate to like how good it actually is.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't get it.
So
I don't get why people are like foaming at the mouth saying how bad it is. I get why people are saying it's bad. I agree with some of the sentiments. I think it's good and I like it, but I agree with these reasons that it would be bad, right?
It very well may be clickbait anger.
Oh yes, and also people are spreading actual lies, like the unencrypted network data thing, going around for like weeks and weeks, and then somebody just like opened up the code and copy pasted it and said, "Hey, this is the network encryption. It's right here. See it? Read it."
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't even talk about that because it was so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of the things that that I try to do on this channel is like what I honestly think a lot of it is like clickbait anger, like getting overly angry about something purely so that you can get extra views for people who are also overly angry about the thing. That's why, like, when I released the video that I was pretty pissed off about the whole Diablo thing, right? I released a video talking about
Matt Ullman.
Yeah, Matt Ullman. And when I was pissed off that Star Citizen was trash, I released a video that was talking about how much I like RimWorld.
Yeah.
Yeah, so someone in chat also said, basically it deserves backlash, but not as much as it's actually getting. That's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that, like, it doesn't deserve backlash at all, per se. It just deserves its middling reviews, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I understand the 50 to 70 range of scores that it's getting. Like, that makes sense to me.
And what it might have been, like you said, price, but also people probably, like, pre-ordered this. Because remember, Todd fucking hyped this shit up.
Yeah.
When it came out, it was like, remember all of the things you didn't like in, like, all of these fucking massively online bullshits like Rust and Ark that are bullshit and stupid? We took that bullshit and stupid bullshit out and made our own game that's basically Fallout.
And like, they did. Fallout 76, I think, is the first game that Todd hasn't flat out lied about. Hey, remember how shitty everybody said that the NPC talking in Fallout 4 was? Well, we think we came up with we think we came up with a solution for that. You don't talk to anyone.
We put Pete Hines in a box and let him only write fucking audio logs every once in a while. He fucking sends them to it by making little paper airplanes and throws them at our game design team, and they put them in there somewhere.
Yeah.
We put Pete Hines in his fucking cage where he goddamn belongs.
I mean, and like, of course, the game's buggy. Maybe it should have
gone
a little bit.
I think anyone.
Yeah, maybe it should have, waited a little bit more to bug fix things, but it's an ongoing game, so I'm not.
It's a Bethesda game.
It's an ongoingly updated game. I'm not concerned about a quest being bugged, because eventually they'll unbug it. So
now, I ran into a billion bugs, and those were like none of my problems, because I went in and said, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be buggy shit."
That does bring me to a point here. Now we're giving some okay praise to it, and we're kind of forgiving a lot of the bad things about it. And another thing to forgive is these buggy quests. Like, the new patch notes fix like 3 or 4 bugged out quests that you couldn't complete today. Now, see, here's the problem, and this is something that I do believe is unforgivable, and they really need to fix this immediately. The patch today is 50 fucking gigabytes for 4 bug fixes. There is no goddamn way that they can make, and they did this last time too.
Oh so, yeah, I thought that this is what you were talking about, that they did this last time. I thought that this is the same one, but they did another one.
The second time that they have pushed out a patch that requires you to re-download the entire game for like 8 minor fixes. It doesn't even have
we don't know how deep those bugs are though. Like they could have to restructure a lot of stuff.
They were built like into the very soul.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I can't. You can't. I just feel like it's not fair to criticize the game for having big bug patches when that is obviously what it takes to fix them. You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't just put huge patches out for no reason. It's obvious what they're doing is, like, they have to do that to fix it, so I don't see what
they rebuild the game from scratch to fix these bugs. We tried to do that with Skyrim, but it was too much work, and they won't let us get away with it again.
Apparently, I was mistaken. The 40 gig patch was for consoles. On PC, it was only 16.
Okay, alright. But still a little bit.
Yeah, they did have to do a bunch of back-end stability and performance things too.
Also, apparently it runs like fucking ass on the PlayStation, so a lot of the vitriol might be coming from console players.
Yeah, I have been seeing a lot of that too.
Yeah, because like
I was hearing a lot of complaints from people on PC though, having to play it on low and stuff, and I don't understand that because people who have better specs than I do were saying it was running really poorly, and I don't.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about PC. Like, you can't account for every configuration. So, like, maybe there's something they have better specs than you do, but like with this particular CPU, it doesn't optimize well.
But I don't know. They have a higher end Intel one than I do. But I get it. Individual things do weird stuff. I get it. It just seems, I don't know. I don't know what it is, and part of it is I think people are over. Emphasizing like there's stuff like frame dips and stuff that I think are caused by server end issues, like not your client side. So I think people are blaming a lot of that on the actual servers when I don't know. It's just
I was having a lot of frame rate problems, like, as I played the game. Like, I would launch the game, and it would start running really smooth, but then as I continued to play, it would go down.
During the beta, people were saying that frame rate was kind of, like, affected poorly by the number of players near you, which kind of makes sense. Like, it's the first time Bethesda's done an online game like this, and they got, like, I think they got, like, CCP or something to do their server and stuff for them. It wasn't CCP. It was some other MMO. I don't know. It's not super important. It's just...
Excuse me.
I guess. But I don't know. Like, I have played so many MMOs on launch day. And I have seen way worse issues than I ever saw. Even when ghouls were T-pose attacking me. Like, I don't know.
Even when Thel straight up couldn't join parties because his character info was not saved
or
to the
didn't
server,
exist or something.
Didn't exist.
And that wasn't even the problem. I still couldn't join parties even after that.
Yeah, and he still was able to play the game just fine.
Yeah.
It sounds like they fixed that bug, by the way.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. So the game was functioned just fine, just partying up didn't, and you could still fucking play with your friend without a party. It was just a little bit harder. So like,
I actually think the only difference is, it cost money, or you couldn't fast travel to someone who is not in your team. I think that was literally the only difference I could think of.
Yeah, and so like, when you compare, okay, let's take like Diablo 3's launch. People just straight up couldn't log in for a week. Period. Like. Unable to even launch the game client. And I don't like the servers went down a little bit.
Yeah. And then I guess the other end of it is just people worried about the microtransaction thing, even though I think like this is one of the nicest forms of like a microtransaction system I've ever seen.
People were complaining about the microtransactions in Path of Exile too on the Xbox.
Yeah.
No, weird.
Yeah, so it's like Path of Exile's microtransactions are way more egregious than Fallout 76, and I don't think they're egregious at all. Yeah, Fallout 76, you can do in-game achievements to earn microtransaction points.
Oh, okay.
And it, like the amount you get is pretty. It's like actually kind of a lot.
Yeah, I think I've logged like 15 hours total, and I already have 2 microtransaction hats. Like,
okay.
Yeah, I still have like 400 points or whatever, which is almost like enough for the one of the more
I have more
things.
hats in Fallout 76 than I do in TF2, and I've spent money on TF2.
Yeah.
So like, I don't see the microtransaction issue, you know?
Yeah.
I guess that it might just be a knee-jerk
because
thing.
it's like it's all the game is the game is already $60. But I am glad that like if you are buying the game, you don't necessarily have to spend money on that stuff.
Right.
And it is just cosmetic,
it's not even,
too.
Yeah, it's not even you don't have to spend money on that stuff, as in it's cosmetic and you don't need to spend money on it.
It's like you can still get it if you paid full price for the game.
Yeah.
Also, another weird thing about it is all of those costumes I'm pretty sure you can find in game. The only difference is if you buy it, you can craft it at a bench. I think that's... I was a little disappointed to find out you couldn't craft them and give them to your friends, but...
Yeah, but that makes sense, kind of. I think that some of the like exclusive like power armor paint and stuff you can't find, but other than that, like
I think that there's also, if you got the Centennial Edition, you could wear like Uncle Sam clothes.
Oh yeah.
And you can't get that otherwise, but like whatever.
Yeah.
Pre-order bonus. It's just I don't know. Like I think people.
Yeah, I think
people
we're running
want
out of
to
time,
complain. People just want to complain about all microtransactions, even though, like, really, you should save your effort for the ones that are actually fucking up the games.
Yeah,
like, I don't know why people
like,
are complaining with Bethesda
bad.
when Call of Duty is still doing their shit right now.
Yeah, exactly. Call of Duty needs to fucking stop. Well, I think the best thing we can do for Call of Duty right now is just not talk about it.
Also, I think Battlefield got in. I think it was Battlefield got in trouble for adding microtransactions into the game after reviews were completed by reviewers.
Oh, good.
So that's not slimy at all. But no, let's give Todd Howard shit for Bethesda's. Like, it's just, it's silly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like if EA had a Todd Howard face, they would be bitching about that guy, not Todd Howard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, but remember, people do definitely bitch about EA 100%. Like, whenever EA releases a game, it gets fucking annihilated.
But if they had a spokesperson half as charismatic as Todd Howard, you would know that all of those Todd Howard jokes would be that guy. So
that too.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Okay, that was way too long of a conversation for Fallout 7.
Let's move on to fucking Ballad of Buster Skruggs. Dalsson, let's talk about this bitch.
Oh my god. The Ballad of Buster Skruggs.
Oh, hold on. Let me bring something up about it.
I think I spelled that correctly, but I'm going to double check.
Okay, so...
You did.
Yeah. The Ballad of Buster Skruggs is the new movie from the Coen brothers, whose previous Western films were the True Grit remake and what essentially was No Country for Old Men. You also might know the Coen brothers from The Big Lebowski, Fargo, I know there's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And they had a recent movie, what was that one called? The one about, like, old Hollywood. Anyway, point is, the fucking Coen brothers sure are guys who make a lot of gosh darn movies all the time, and they're all great. And Ballad of Buster Skruggs is absolutely not a great movie. It's a collection of 6 short stories that take place in the West. I watched this movie, then immediately after I watched this movie, the very next day, I got up and I said to Dalsson, I said to him, hey, we should watch a Ballad of Buster Skruggs, because you're gonna fucking love it. He's like, okay, and we did, and he fucking loved it.
Dude, okay, so essentially what this movie is a collection of short stories, essentially.
Yeah.
The first one being about Buster Scruggs.
The titular Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yes, the first story being the titular Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Yeah. And essentially what this first story is a man who is literally a cartoon character where everything else around him is played completely straight like the Old West. He will do things like be in a gun duel and shoot a man 10 times and he's still standing. He'll turn around, take out a mirror and say, oh, I don't think I want to play this one too fancy. Maybe I'll just shoot straight. And then he closes one eye and shoots behind him with the mirror and bounce off a fucking... and then like, and like there's like 4 or 5 points where he just breaks out into song randomly, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?" But like 2 seconds,
and then they begin singing
with him, and it's hilarious. And then after that, like 20-minute excursion into Cartoon Land, all of the rest of them are not like that at all.
Yeah. The first one, the Ballad of Buster Skruggs, because of this whole cartoon thing, like you said, the rest of the place is played entirely straight. So you'll see Buster Skruggs, for instance, go into like a cantina. Some people will be slightly rude to him. He'll be, I don't know if I like that there, partner. Well, I don't think that matters. I don't think it matters that you like that. And then he'll just murder the entire cantina with a surprising amount of bloodlust that is fucking hilarious. It's incredible.
Then he's just sitting there with a smile on his face. He's like, "Well, I told those partners they should have settled down, but you know that's okay. Good thing I didn't hit any of these whiskey bottles with my pistol over here." And then he strolls out whistling a tune.
Yeah. The next one after that is Near Algondones. It's the one where the guy tries to rob a bank. Which is, well, maybe one of the more forgettable ones of these. A man tries to rob a bank, is then attempted to be hanged, and then ends up, through a set of circumstances, freed, and then is hanged again.
Yep, and that was the whole story. And they have a bunch of stories like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think my favorite one is, it's just like 15 minutes of a man like going around the mountains mining for gold, trying to find this gold vein. Yeah, and then he finds it. Yeah, and then he gets shot.
It's a wonderful story.
Well, don't spoil parts of the.
Oh, that's not
stories.
a spoiler.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I get you. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
you don't need to summarize all 6 of the short stories.
Right.
If I was, a lot of people have been complaining about sort of the length of this. And I don't get that feeling, but if I could remove one of the stories, I would probably take out Meal Ticket, because
which one is that?
It's the one with the guy with no legs who does the show.
Oh, it's 2 hours 13. People need to stop complaining.
Yeah. It's
basically what it really feels like is just watching 6 episodes of The Twilight Zone. Yeah. Like, that's straight up, it feels like watching 6 Western-themed Twilight Zone episodes in a row. Like, nothing crazy weird happens, but they're all just a little bit uncanny.
Yeah. And they're all a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're all hilarious and filled with the good old Coen Brothers flair.
Exactly.
Funny
and
stuff.
They all have their own, like, style of humor. Like, half of them are very, very dark humor. Half of them have, like, straight up a cartoon character as the main character, you know?
Yeah.
I definitely recommend this to anybody who just wants to throw something on to watch, you know?
If I'm not really into Westerns, will I still like it?
Probably. I would say that about any Coen movie. If you're not really into blank, well, it's a Coen Brothers movie, so it's gonna be good.
It doesn't really fall into a lot of these. It doesn't really fall into a lot of the trappings of Western movies. Like, it's certainly not like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly or anything, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
Plus, all of the stories are like they're cut up into chunks. So if you watch like one and you're like, I'm not really into this, there'll be a completely different thing once that part's over, you know?
Yeah.
None of them are even related to each other.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on so that we can crank through some of these. Let's talk about The Haunting of Hill House.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know how long you want to talk about it, because I don't know.
Not terribly long, but why don't you start, since you started watching it this...
Oh, I don't know. Okay, I'll talk about it. I'm 7 episodes in, which is not all the way through. There's 10 episodes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's good, but I'm not as enthusiastic about it as a lot of other people are, but I think it's good and worth watching, especially if you do like horror. And I think some of it's more interesting than other parts.
Right.
And I do like how kind of each episode follows another character, and as you see each character's perspective, you get a better idea of what's happening. So I think it's all really interesting and well written, but I don't know. It's just not 100% my thing.
Okay.
But I do think it's really good, and especially if you are into that style of horror stuff, I think it is really good for a horror series. I don't think I've seen another horror series that was able to be serious and still get away with it. Because most of the time, horror series turn out goofy. Especially, like, as it goes on, it gets more and more goofy. Things like Stranger Things, I don't think even really compare to it in the same way, because that is almost more of an action thing with spooky monsters. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas this is definitely, like, horror and everything is scary, and it's not like they're... I don't know, the stakes are different a little bit.
Right.
But, so yeah, I really do think it's good, and I would recommend it to a lot of people.
Right.
It's not my favorite thing on Netflix, but that's just me.
Yeah. I like it a lot. I think it's like
we almost powered through it in like one day.
Yeah,
I mean,
I watched. I have to go to bed.
I mean, I watched 7 episodes in 2 sittings, so I don't know.
Yeah,
it is definitely watchable.
Oh yeah,
right.
What were you saying, Dalsson?
I think that it's. God, I don't know. It's like I really want, like, the first episode was kind of bland. This is the same thing that Thel was saying. The first episode is kind of bland and like, oh, well, okay, this is a spooky television show. But then, like, the way that it goes on to, like, tell each individual character's story, like, in one episode, and then even within the, like, microeconomics of time in the one episode, they will go in between like 3 different points in time, like before a particular event, after a particular event, and during their childhood. Like it'll flip back and forth between that in such a logical way that it never becomes hard to follow, and that's what I was afraid of when I was describing it.
I think it does. It is kind of hard to follow early on, because I couldn't tell the difference between 3 characters. You know, over time I got more used to the characters, and I do think that like, I kind of disagree a little bit. I thought the beginning was actually pretty good, because I thought that it made sense to start out the series by following the guy who is a skeptic of the rest of his family.
Oh yeah.
So
well, my problem is that it not only did it follow that guy, but it also sort of had to establish all of the rest of the characters. Like, you had little things in Cheryl's house where Theo was just like living with her and establishing that, you know, relationship between them rather than focusing entirely on Steven, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think maybe they could have balanced it a little bit better, but I feel like they needed to.
Yeah, and
it's not just establish people. It's not just that they had to establish things, but they needed to at least introduce all of the characters, because otherwise, like, I already thought it was hard to follow, like, the difference between several characters initially. Yeah. So, like, they needed to at least show you who those people were. Like, when they were first, like, I remember at one point, halfway through the first episode, I was like, how many kids are there? Are there 5? or 6? Like, I literally didn't actually know how many characters there were in the first half of the episode.
There's another little girl that they bring up sometimes.
Yeah, I know. But that wasn't even counting that character yet. Oh, because I don't think she's even introduced in that episode. So.
Right.
I think she's essentially introduced in the first episode when Luke mentions her when they're.
I think he mentions her, but I don't think they actually talk about. What her deal is, or show her on screen or anything until later.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, what were you saying?
I wasn't saying anything. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, it's hard to follow. I still, like, at the end of the series had a trouble telling the mortician sister and the psychic sister apart. But that's just because
just look for which one's wearing gloves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know.
Look for which one has incredibly beefy arms that could punch you into the fucking ground.
Right, but like,
I think the worst part of those two characters.
Look for that, but like the whole time I was thinking, like, okay, so wait, is the psychic sister also a mortician, and this lady is somebody else, or is she a mortician and she's psychic?
No, I see. I think part of the problem was,
like, I got their character traits mixed up.
I think part of the problem was both characters actually did live in the same place. One was in the guest house of the mortuary.
Right.
The other thing was they're both kind of bitches. Like both of them are kind of catty. And like one of them, it feels like, and this is kind of reductive, so I'm not saying this is all her character was, but it seems like the psychic ladies, one of her major defining traits, it felt like, was that she was a lesbian.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like
so it early on, like that was one of the only things that I really could discern her with early on, but like one of the things that this show's really good at is developing characters as time goes on because of the way that it reveals information. So
yeah. And I think
honestly, the psychic thing plays a lot more into the whole what her character is, especially like in the next episode, the one you haven't seen, that comes right after the episode you did see.
Well, I never actually had, by the time I saw the episode Touch, I was totally knew who everyone was. So it wasn't it wasn't that problem. I didn't have that problem for very long, actually. It sounds like Dalsson had trouble telling them apart for longer. Right?
Yeah.
At this point, I don't even need to see, like, I could see from the chest up. Like, I don't need to see the gloves to know which one's which anymore.
Yeah.
But that being said, I can't remember any of their names, but that's like every show ever for me. So.
Oh yeah.
I think literally the only character I remember is Luke, because he's one of the most interesting of them for me.
Yeah, he's also very he's also like, the whole story kind of hinges around him, because
in a lot of ways, yeah.
Because the story hinges around his twin, it also hinges around him.
Yeah.
So he's very important to the story. But yeah, Haunting of Hill House is really good. I would definitely say I'd probably recommend this to everyone, even people who don't really like horror.
I would recommend it to everyone except for people who don't like horror. Does that make sense? If people don't like horror, I wouldn't recommend it to them. But I think everyone else, I would recommend it. I think it is really good.
Yeah, so like, if you actively want to avoid horror because you're a baby,
or spooky things,
or spooky things, that's really, it's not like screamery. It's like just the entire atmosphere of the show is creepy, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you can't get over that like anxiety that it builds, like I could see it being uncomfortable for certain people to watch. That's all I'm saying.
But if you're like, horror isn't really my thing.
Yeah,
but
I think it's worth watching.
You don't get like anxious or scared easily, it's still worth watching.
Oh yeah.
It also does. I also really appreciate that I haven't seen the last 3 episodes, but even if it ends in like a possession or something, I really appreciate how it tackled its supernatural feel without being like really in your face about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't dumb.
Yeah, it's subtle enough that it feels okay. It's like, even if you might have to suspend your disbelief a little bit about like, this woman can touch things and get psychic thoughts. Like, sure, but it's not like so significant that you feel like, okay, here's another witch ghost story, you know?
Yeah.
And one of the things that Thel said was, oh, don't get me wrong, there are definitely ghosts in it, but it, up to the very end of the series, I still thought that it was like, I believe that their intention was that there are definitely ghosts, like there are real ghosts in the house, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that was their intention, but the way that they laid it out to the very end of the show, after watching the whole thing, I still feel like it's nebulous whether or not it was all in their heads in the first place.
I don't know.
Because nothing, like every time what's her face sees the bent neck lady, it's like something bad happens, but like, oh well, this dude just had an aneurysm. He didn't.
I feel like there are too many situations where it's too convenient.
Yeah,
because like Steven, the other guy that I actually remember his name, and I'm surprised about that.
Yeah.
Steven, the skeptic guy, doesn't believe in any of that shit for the longest time, and then he has a moment where he's affected by it. Like, I think there are too many points in time where it's not just like it couldn't be more than just, or it couldn't be any less than them having an experience, because otherwise it just wouldn't make sense.
Right.
Because, like, why would the characters... It has to be more than mental illness, because characters are connected in ways that doesn't make sense otherwise, other than it being supernatural. So,
right.
Especially the twins in particular, like the woman the psychic woman, like it's kind of like... It's kind of like a credibility thing. You believe one or two things enough, you have to believe all of it, kind of.
Basically, yeah.
Like the touch psychic gal, like, I can suspend my disbelief for that. I can suspend my because that twins feeling what each other feels thing, like that's been a thing people talk about all the time. But
I feel like that's less believable than ghosts,
but like
personally.
But the ghosts none of the ghosts ever hurt anybody. Not one of them. Like,
well, one of them.
No.
Okay, two of them.
One ghost makes other people hurt people, but the ghost does not hurt somebody. Like.
Well, sure, and also we are trying to avoid spoilers, and I think that was a little too far. But I don't know, like how you hurt things kind of depends. Freaking someone out also can hurt them. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. But it's like all of the ghosts do scary shit and people freak out. But like don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to advocate and say that there are not ghosts. I'm trying to say that the way that they conveyed the ghosts through most of the series was interesting because it kind of kept you guessing whether Steven was right the whole time and they are all just crazy.
I don't know. I feel like there were too many things that were too convenient for all of the characters to be made, like, just it being in their heads. Like, I don't know. I think that it was not ambiguous enough to say that it was ambiguous. I think it was pretty straightforward, personally, but yeah, I don't know. I do enjoy it. I recommend it to nearly everyone. So
right.
But yeah, like I said, it's not my favorite thing on Netflix.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. There was one other major game or movie. Oh yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes. Me and Saine actually both saw this.
Yeah, that's like new.
Yeah, and it's not even like it's opening week. This is like a couple weeks on, and we both saw it this week.
Did you see it in theaters?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna start with some of my thoughts because I know that I'm kind of in a slightly separate boat than Thel is, but I really enjoyed it. It's actually, and man, saying this is kind of funny because I already know some of Thel's basic thoughts, but like I think it might be one of my favorite biopics I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. Briefly, you told me that you thought it was kind of cliched in points, but, you know, I understand that thought, I guess, but I think that it kind of is already sort of a straightforward story about how a very successful group of people became very successful, and it mainly focused on one particular person's struggles, Freddie Mercury. So I don't know, like, and the way that they weaved music into the overall plot of it, which is obvious because it was a movie about Queen, but like the way that they were able to constantly infuse music with the overall plot just felt so great to me. It was so interesting to see where all of the characters were at that point of time when a major like hit came out. Just like even the small stories about like how We Will Rock You came to be. Like just the thought of the one guy kind of putting that together, about how Under Pressure came out. Like it just, I don't know. I really enjoyed being able to contrast that with my view of what all of those songs were, and to see how, like, kind of their perspective on what those songs were, you know, to the best of their ability. And I think that as dramatized as things were, I don't think any of it was probably too far from what actually happened, in terms of where they were at, where, you know, when they were fighting, when things were happening, and that sort of thing. So, like, by the end of the movie, I was probably tearing up for the last, like, 40 minutes of the movie. Because that final concert was so emotional.
Oh, the final concert was the best part of the movie. Deadass. Like, that was like, if I'm going to say anything good about this movie, and I don't think this movie was a terrible fucking movie. I've seen much worse movies this year. The final concert, which was just Rami Malek being Queen and doing voiceover dubs like Queen in Live Aid was the best part of the movie, because Rami Malek was deadass the best part. He was great as Freddie Mercury. Fucking fantastic. Really, he was.
And that's funny, because that's like one of my minor issues with the movie is I thought that Rami Malek was kind of a weird choice for Freddie Mercury. Because Rami Malek kind of has this odd mannerism about him that I don't think transfers to Freddie Mercury really well. And like I'm not saying that he was terrible in it, but I thought that like the whole time I was watching it, I could not separate it from, man, I'm watching...
Wait a second,
I'm watching Mr. Robot be Freddie Mercury the whole movie.
Yeah.
Not Mr. Robot, the main character in Mr. Robot, who is not Mr. Robot.
The titular Mr. Robot.
Sure he isn't.
No.
Anyway.
Damn it, Saine. Thanks for spoiling Mr. Robot for me.
I didn't spoil anything.
Now I know that it's all about time travel and he goes back to the past to beat himself up.
Yep, that's what's happening.
Ugh.
But yeah, like it wasn't terrible. And you know, especially over time and like with the elaborate costumes, I kind of got over it, right? But right. I do think especially, and this was kind of a major point for me, like when the credits were rolling and it showed like old footage of like actual Freddie Mercury, it was like, yeah, he really kind of didn't look like him that much.
Yeah.
So
he wasn't as big as Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, I don't know.
Smaller.
Well, I don't even just mean height. I mean like Rami Malek's facial structure is very like noticeable.
Yeah.
And like he has this like cadence to his voice that like just seems odd to me. Like I don't know. That being said, I thought he did a good job under the circumstances.
Right.
And I don't know who else I would have cast as Freddie Mercury either. But right. He was not who would come to mind for me. So I don't know.
Right. So probably the best thing I can like the thing that I can sum up my feelings on this movie is pretty easily brought in with like one set of lines in the movie. When they sit down with the person who's going to be their new manager, the manager asks, well, what makes Queen different from all these other bands? Well, that's simple. Because we are different. We play for the outcasts. Because we are the outcasts. We play for the guy in the back room that doesn't know that he's supposed to be here. Because he's not. We're different, man. And it's like, okay. There was a point in time where he was playing Bohemian Rhapsody on the piano that reminded, like, he was laying in bed with his girlfriend, right? He was playing Bohemian Rhapsody on the piano, like the tune of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, and before it became a finished
before,
song.
like significantly before that. And It was like, oh, yes, here it is. That scene that Walk Hard, the story of Dewey Cox made fun of. Please don't leave me and take the kids. Wait, please don't leave me and take the... Don't you dare write a song right now, Dewey Cox.
I don't know.
I was thinking of that the whole time. I felt like the pacing was a little bit weird. There were some times that, like, specifically one particular time it brought up, like, a conflict. What was it? It was in, like, the studio, right? The studio where they were going to play on TV for the first time, and they said, well, we're just going to have to overdub it. Well, that's not what Queen does! Yeah, well, we're going to have to overdub it, and then just sort of moved on, and that wasn't resolved, and I don't know if they overdubbed it or not.
Yeah, I did think that was a little weird, but, like, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Especially I felt like with, Straight Outta Compton and stuff like that, it felt like it's just every other biopic I've ever seen. Again, it's not
I don't know, though, because I think the thing about it is I don't think it's an uncommon story, really. Like, and I think Queen, like this, okay, the scene where Queen's saying, like, you know, we're playing to the outcasts and stuff, I really do believe that's where they were at, because at the time, Queen was so different from everything else. Like, it wasn't unfair to say that their music was for a different kind of consumer of music than most people. because it was so divorced from mainstream rock at that point in time.
Oh yeah, well,
and they were kind of trendsetters. What?
It was funny when you're saying that, because like there was the whole sequence about like the 6-minute thing, where they go through that whole thing, and I was thinking, these motherfuckers never heard of any of the prog rock groups that ever came out at any point in time, like King Crimson, fucking Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, but they weren't. Those weren't. But they weren't the singles on the radio, though.
Yeah.
So like no.
And so like as far as pop rock goes, they were kind of busting it out.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like that 100%. I believe that happened and went down very similar to how it went down, but I don't know.
And then and that also came another line I kind of laughed at, where they sort of just, and there were a lot of lines that were like really like, this is a line that's supposed to be like incredibly impactful, and it feels like a little bit different. It was delivered like a little bit different with a little bit more oomph than the rest of the lines. A few particular ones, like, this is not the kind of music that teens are going to be banging their head to. You're going to be known as the producer who left Queen, and when he said that when he announced that he had AIDS. Oh, and the guy who ended up being his husband saying what his name was.
I don't really know. Oh, Skype froze. Uh-oh.
What?
Oh, okay.
Hello? Okay,
hello?
we're back.
Oh,
yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe my internet cut out for a second there.
Weird.
I don't really... None of those stood out at the time for me as being weird. So I don't know. Maybe I just didn't notice, or maybe that was a you thing, but like... I remember the line where he said, "You're gonna be remembered as the guy who left who lost Queen." Like, that was a very memorable line in that movie, but I don't necessarily think it was overly emphasized. He was pissed, so I mean, yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Again, I don't think
there is some setup about it being dressed, because it's kind of like, a retelling of a story that, you embellish things that are, the point of the story in a way. So I can see them listening to some of these stories and then converting it to a script, and that made it like the punchy part of that script. Like, I get it, but I don't think it was that bad. I don't think it was like, compared to other biopics I've seen, I didn't really think it was that noticeable or out of place. So
right. Well, and that is pretty much my biggest problem, is compared to every other biopic I've ever seen, this is every other biopic I've ever seen. And again, like I said, there's some great stuff. The fucking, the last 10 minutes of this movie is goddamn fantastic. Wonderful. There was also a specific point in time, a specific line that was really, really good. When he's talking to his girlfriend, and he's like, so when I was singing during this concert, something crazy happened. Everyone else just started singing the song for me, and it wasn't like anything I'd ever seen. It was incredible, and it's like, wow, that was a really good moment. You fucking did it, Bryan Singer. That's good work.
Also, where that moment went was pretty fucked too, but
oh yeah. I mean, I have a little bit of a problem with that whole sort of thing. But that's like getting into stuff that's, I don't want to fucking have to deal with that bullshit.
I just don't. Well, part of the thing is, like, there were points in time where Freddie Mercury did some really fucked up things to different people, and I could, like, on one hand, it's like, are they playing up the drama? But on the other hand, it's like, I could probably see someone in his position be doing some of this shit. So like,
like that.
So it's kind of it does thread the needle about, like, I think at points in times he was really just kind of an asshole, so...
Yeah. Oh no, this is a really dark time in my... one of the really humanizing... another humanizing line that I really liked was when they're, like, trying... The point in the movie where the band gets back together. Where they bring in Freddie Mercury for, like, a couple minutes. It's like... And he explains, like, oh, okay, I want to get back together so we can do this light plan thing. And then the rest of the band members are like, all right, Freddie... you wait outside for a second? He's like, okay. Why'd you do that? Oh, just to fuck with him. That was great. That was hilarious.
One thing I was, you know, I don't know how I feel about this part of the movie. The movie was very much about Freddie Mercury. Oh, yeah. And less about Queen as a whole, and I don't know how much I like that. I kind of wish the other characters, I say characters, but the other people in the movie got a little bit more involved with where they were at, but I understand why they did, because it was already kind of a longish movie.
Oh yeah,
so I see why, but it just seems.
And not only
weird.
that, but like Freddie Mercury is the big front man for Queen.
Yeah.
When you think of Queen, you think of Freddie Mercury, you know. So like even from like that standpoint.
Don't, but.
Oh well, but.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I've always thought of Queen pretty holistically, but I guess in fairness, the only name I knew from Queen was Freddie Mercury. But really, I thought of Queen. I never thought of Freddie Mercury. You know?
Yeah.
So
Freddie Mercury was just the crazy front man,
and they kind of like talked about that with where he went with his solo album that never materialized.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. I think it was a really great story. You know, maybe it wasn't the best biopic. I really enjoyed it, but in fairness, I really, really love Queen's music, so...
Right. And the music was some of the best parts of the movie, straight up.
Yeah.
One of the things, and again, like, my feeling of this movie is pretty much, a lot of the, Bryan Singer did this thing where he put, after Bohemian Rhapsody released, he put a bunch of, like, the negative reviews of Bohemian Rhapsody. That's why I feel about your movie, Bryan Singer. That's fucking bold of you.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
No, but, like, the point of that scene was that it was panned by critics, but now is one of the most popular songs, period.
Oh, yeah. In fact, it got up on, like, 4th of the worldwide charts or something.
Yeah, and then it was number one the second time it released after the Live Aid, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that... I thought it was really good, but it is one of those things, like, unless you like Queen or rock music in general, maybe it won't be your thing, but, like...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, yeah.
But... definitely, if you like Queen even a little bit, it's probably worth watching, because it is a really engaging movie.
Yeah.
I thought so, anyway.
And again, like, the music and Rami Malek's performance of the dubbed-over music is really good.
Again, I think some of it he sings, and some of it is overdubbed. I think there's a little of both in there.
I don't think he did sing any of it. I'm not sure, though. I don't actually know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, because some of it was definitely overdubbed, but I think a lot of it actually was just him singing. But I'm not positive on that either, so I guess don't take my word for it. Yeah, so that's Bohemian Rhapsody. Why don't we take a quick break, and then we'll come back and take care of the news.
Which there is some of, actually.
And I will try to actually do the intermission correctly, because for some reason it didn't work last week.
Yeah, which is weird.
So, how long break do you want? Do you want like a 5-minute break or like a 10-minute break?
I can deal with like a 5-minute break. I don't need that long.
Okay, how about 6:27? It's kind of it's not a round number, but
yeah, it's whatever. Sounds good to me.
We'll be back in a little bit.
Okay.
All right, we're back from our short break. That was really short.
Yeah.
Yes.
I walked in the kitchen, ate some chips, and then came back.
Wow.
I grabbed some drink. Some more drink.
All right.
Okay. Do you want to... Well, sounds like we have a lot of movie news, but...
Not very much gaming news, really?
Well, there's a fair amount. But I don't know how much of it is going to really turn into conversations.
Yeah, well, it's the same with movie news, though.
Okay, why don't we start with movie news so I can go look into something real quick.
Oh, okay. In that case, let me go find out where the fuck I was. So, big thing that's been happening. Is that? Oh, wait, no, hold up, wait, no, I gotta go above that a little bit.
Oh, are we starting with the stuff I posted?
Yeah, we're starting with the stuff you posted.
Okay.
I was like, oh, wait, shit. That's right. So first thing, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been renewed for
renewed. Here, actually, let me take this one because.
Oh yeah, go ahead because I actually don't know that much about that one.
So yeah, the reason I put this in was actually more than just that, though.
Okay.
So, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was greenlit for a 7th season before the 6th season has even aired. They also have, like, Marvel Studios are moving forward with a Scarlet Witch show, a Falcon and Winter Soldier show, and a confirmed Loki show that will all stream on Disney Plus. And it looks like this is the reason why they canceled a bunch of other shit on Netflix, because it looks like they now have, 5? Yeah, and they're also doing a female superhero project from Alan Heinberg, who's the screenwriter for Wonder Woman. So there's like a ton of different things up in the air, in addition to 2 shorter seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Before they did 22 episodes, now they dropped them down to 12, but apparently they liked the most recent season so much that they greenlit another season before this one's even aired, so that's interesting. Phil Coulson, who's like one of the main characters of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is also going to be in Captain Marvel as a younger version of himself, so that'll be interesting. In the trailer, you can already see some of his CGI to be younger face going on.
Oh, good.
So that's a thing.
Huh.
Yeah, so I don't know.
More Marvel television.
Looks like there's going to be a lot more Marvel on their upcoming Disney Plus thing.
Mm-hmm.
You ready for this news? This is some weird shit.
I'm so fucking ready for this news because it has so many implications.
So, Dante from the Devil May Cry series is going to be joining the universe of the fucking Caslevania television show.
Yeah, so the executive producer Andy Schenker told IGN that they acquired the adaptation rights for Devil May Cry, and they're going to make a multiverse out of Devil May Cry and Caslevania.
Okay, so listen to this. This is what I love the most about this news. Hideki Kamiya has gone on record saying that anything that Devil May Cry touches is canonically in the same universe, meaning that Caslevania is now in the same universe as the likes of Shin Megami Tensei, Beautiful Joe, Bayonetta, which also links it to Super Smash Bros. Well, wait, actually, it was already. Never mind.
Yeah,
so
Castlevania. That was the prequel. Super Smash Bros. Was the prequel to this show.
So, like, it's so funny because just by any time you link something to Devil May Cry like this, it just creates this bigger, because of that one stupid statement that Hideki Kamiya said, anything that Devil May Cry touches is canonically in the same universe. Like, it just creates this web of series that are all interlinked.
Giant video game universe.
Yeah, like Monster Hunter and Dead Rising, Mega Man, like they're all the same.
Doesn't count if it's not a game, though.
Probably. I would say so, because there was also the Devil May Cry anime that existed briefly.
So yeah, I don't know. Castlevania Season 2 is really good. It's been renewed for a 3rd season, which I also didn't hear until now.
If the Season 2 of that was so good, I'm really excited to see. It's not like Dante's going to be in Castlevania. They're going to make a Devil May Cry show that's in the same universe.
Right, probably. And we don't know how that will cross over, especially since Devil May Cry takes place, like, way farther in the timeline than even the latest Castlevania in...
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Some of the weird
3D
Castlevanias might actually be kind of...
Devil May Cry is basically modern day, like late 90s, maybe. So
I think some of the Castlevanias are modern day too, though. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking the DS series of games was in the modern day, but I don't know.
So here's my real question: when do we get Dante as an Echo Fighter for Bayonetta?
Soon.
Good. It's man. I'm so... You know the other thing that he said that makes this worse, though? He said he later clarified that included in that fan statement is fan-made crossovers, so basically, literally everything is connected through our Lord and Savior, Hideki Kamiya. Anything that anybody's crossed over with Devil May Cry, and it's silly. I love it. And but back to more the actual point. If Caslevania is that good, I'm really, really excited for the Devil May Cry one because I love Devil May Cry. Right? So yeah. And they tried an anime with Devil May Cry and it was mediocre, but like Dante was the only decent part of that anime, so I'm excited to see this new one from the creators of a show that we know at least visually is really good, for sure, that I know. You know?
Yeah. I'm pretty interested in it.
Yeah, so, and I've always liked Devil May Cry more than Caslevania, so so yeah, but that's my thoughts about that. Exciting.
Yep. So, this Criterion thing, though.
Okay, so, Filmstruck was a streaming service that actually differed itself from, like, Netflix and the other ones by being, excuse me, specifically about art films, right? So, in the last week, like, 15 different things have happened after we talked about it earlier. Would you fuck off, Fly, please? It is shutting down. There have been multiple campaigns. What?
Didn't we already hear about this?
Yeah. Filmstruck shut down, but there have been multiple campaigns to bring it back up, led by Guillermo del Toro and Inarritu, who was the guy who did fucking Birdman. And a ton of like people have signed a petition, and they're trying to get AT&T to be the ones who bring it back. And also, completely aside from that, as Filmstruck shuts down, the Criterion is breaking off from Turner Classic Movies as part of it, and is just going to open their own streaming service that's just going to be the Criterion Film Streaming Service. So, one, we might be getting Filmstruck back, and two, Criterion's gonna have their own film streaming service. So it was basically just fucking, it just fucking squished into two.
Oh, okay.
And gave birth to another one. So when you cut off one head, two more shall appear. Thank you, Criterion. Thank you.
Hail Criterion.
Hail Criterion.
So I looked it up because I was really curious about it. Bohemian Rhapsody, what they did was they had Rami Malek sing, and then they took that recording, and they took Freddie Mercury's recording and blended them.
Okay.
So he was singing, but it wasn't just his singing, it was also Freddie Mercury singing.
Okay.
Right.
So it was kind of weird, but that's why there was
about that too. They were saying that like Freddie Mercury's voice was like he had such crazy vocal range and control that basically nobody could possibly replicate it, so they had to do something like that.
Right. Something else, and this is a terrible thing. So when I was in watching trailers for Bohemian Rhapsody, I'm sorry to take like a detour, but when I was watching the trailers for Bohemian Rhapsody, a trailer for Rocket Man came on, which is the biopic about Elton John. And while in there, I jokingly thought to myself, hey, it looks like they're gonna do a music cinematic universe.
That's good.
Anyway, sorry to cut into that.
When I was sitting in Bohemian Rhapsody, one of the things I was kind of surprised with was a lot of the trailers look good. I saw a trailer for Widows, which is looks fucking incredible, and it's coming out like this week. Anyway, the next one, the fucking Edison Ketogram Frankenstein movie is getting a restoration, which is crazy. This bitch was made in 1910. I've actually seen this movie before. It's essentially a short film. It's about 10 minutes long. It's the oldest Frankenstein movie that I think is currently not lost. There are like a billion horror movies. Like there's like an even older Dracula that's actually licensed as Dracula that's older than Nosferatu that was lost. And I think there's another Frankenstein one, but this is the earliest one that we have that hasn't been lost. And the man who owned it for the longest time wouldn't let anyone touch it or restore it or just try and do anything with it, but he finally gave up the rights. And now it has been restored in glorious HD, so you can see the whole Edison Ketogram.
So that you can see every single scan line.
You can see every single scan line.
That's about it.
And that's about it. But yeah, it's a great moment in film history. We did it. Nice. We made it bigger.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Flashed in chat says Widows is supposedly great and already out. And I also thought it was already out, so yeah.
Yeah. It came out like Friday. I didn't think, because my perception of time is warped. Anyway. So this next one isn't much to talk about. I just wanted to put it in here. But, so, a long time ago, India released a huge, big-budget movie, which, you know, compared to Hollywood isn't very much. But they released a big-budget movie about a guy who turns into a robot, and there were like internet memes and stuff about it because it was really, really silly, as most Bollywood movies are. They're making a fucking second one. Oh boy.
Oh.
Ooh, dog. But yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's about all I have to say about that. Next one is a little bit fucking concerning. Apple is going to work with A24 to produce a slate of films. I don't know what the fuck this means. Nobody knows what the fuck this means. We'll just have to wait and see. A24, though, has been very good at keep holding to, like, their line, you know? They have a very specific goal that they're trying to do. They have a certain type of movie that they want to bring to the world. And so, hopefully, they will stick to that hard goal that they've been holding to.
Right.
Do we have any idea if this is for the purpose of putting it on iTunes or something? Or is it, like...
Unfortunately, we don't, but there has definitely been speculation about that.
Yeah, I would assume so, but I don't...
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine what else they would do with it.
I mean, they could just collect money from film for producing it, but...
Yeah, Apple is trying to get, like, do the Amazon thing and get, like, money for producing movies.
Nah, I don't think so. Apple's too stupid to do that. I don't think they would.
No. Apple's very smart. It's people who buy Apple that are stupid.
I think what they would do
Apple knows how to market their shit.
Exactly.
Apple knows how to be exactly as cheap as fucking possible, and that's get away with it too, with a sack of fucking money on their back.
And that's what I'm saying. Why give a film to a theater and get money for producing it when you could just put it on your own platform for $80 per watch?
Well, you might get more money.
People will buy it
in the theater.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because the movies that have made the most money have been movies that have been released in theaters, and in theaters are when they made the most money.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is why everyone hasn't completely moved to streaming services.
Introducing the new Apple iTheater.
Actually, ticket sales for theaters are actually pretty healthy now that we've...
Yeah, they really are.
Now that the problem with movie theaters is they are a commodity. So what happens is in a recession or like a dip in the market like that, when people have less available money to spend, they don't spend it at the theater typically. But when we're in better market conditions, people go to the movies a lot. And actually, since the economy has been better in the last couple of years, movie ticket sales have gone up quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been crazy how much they've been going up. Like, Disney has been making fucking legitimate billions of dollars per movie. Like,
you know, and people are like always worried that it's like, oh, the death of theaters, the death of this. But I think people will always want somewhere physical to go. Yeah. Maybe not always.
And that's the thing. One of the people who released Mandy were actually surprised because they released Mandy on streaming in the exact same time they released it on theaters. The people went to fucking see it in the theaters. They actually made a lot of money from theaters.
Yeah, and that's like just a proof of concept almost. Like,
yeah.
It goes to show exactly what Saine is saying. People want to have that movie theater experience.
Yeah. Especially like for a movie like Mandy. It's perfect for the theaters, you know?
Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people, going to the movies isn't about going to the movies. It's about the social aspect. Yeah. Like, most people don't want to go to the movies if they don't have somebody to see it with. Yeah. I would totally go to the movies alone if I could get there alone. But
same, fam. Yeah.
But I know that there are a lot of people who would not go to the movies if they didn't have a friend or somebody to go with.
See, that's why you guys just need to move to Phoenix.
Because there's movie theaters there.
Because there's movie theaters there. And friends there.
We could go to the movies all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
What the fuck was this one? Oh, yeah, that's right. The new film by Yorgos Lanthimos wins fucking a bunch of early independent film awards. It hasn't come out yet for us normal people, but then again, Yorgos Lanthimos never was one of those. The Favorite has already been getting a ton of buzz just purely because of the director who directed previously The Lobster and Dogtooth.
Oh, that one, yeah.
And fucking...
all of those movies about people transforming into animals.
Well, that was just The Lobster, and that actually, nobody, like, physically, like, was shown to transform into an animal. That was just, like, what would happen.
Ha.
What about The Lobster?
He was going to turn into a lobster if he didn't do it, but then he broke out and joined a rogue renegade group of people.
Who didn't turn into lobsters.
Yeah. Damn it. I've been sold a fake bill.
And Killing of the Sacred Deer. But yeah, his new movie, The Favorite, has immediately gotten a bunch of popularity. As soon as people saw it, it won a ton of rewards. Yay! I like Yorgos Lanthimos, and I'm happy that he's continuing to make movies.
Awards.
Yeah, awards.
So
you said rewards. Rewards implies he gets something physical instead of a stupid...
Yeah, he does. He gets a trophy.
Yeah,
awards come with prize cash.
He gets sometimes. A reward for his award.
Okay.
And the last piece of news is this thing I already talked about. So that's it.
All right.
Yes. Games.
So
games.
Video games.
Let's see. What are we starting at? Yes.
E3.
Path of Exile.
E3.
No, E3.
What?
We're gonna talk about Betrayal.
No, Path of Exile Betrayal is.
Oh, that wasn't from last week?
No,
that was last Tuesday.
Oh.
Okay, let's start with E3. I'll just go to Betrayal last.
No, just do it. I already changed the
Well,
thing.
I have a lot of. All right, fine. So Path of Exile Betrayal is the new league that's coming out. Now, of course, every 3 months they come out with a new league. It's not exactly news that they're coming out with a new league, but there are some interesting things going on. It's like, you know, in movies when somebody has a crazy conspiracy theory and they put like pins in stuff and wrap the twine around and everything's interconnected. That's essentially their inspiration for this new league. You're hunting down bosses that you'll basically go through one of those webs to find the leader. And that's the idea behind the new league. But the more interesting parts is that this is also coming with the master rework that they've been talking about for ages.
And by rework, they mean they remove the Council of Useless Assholes and replace it with the Council of Useful Assholes.
Yeah. So all of the old Forsaken Masters, like Leo and Katarina and them,
Rest in peace, my waifu. Katarina died.
Supposedly removed from the game. And actually...
They got fucking kidnapped. Like, that's actually the lore. They got fucking kidnapped.
Yeah, you can basically... in some of the teaser pictures, you can actually see the old Forsaken Masters in the Syndicate, like, as bosses that you fight, so...
I believe it's just the uselessest asshole of all, the PvP master who got jealous at all the other masters, just fucking kidnapped him.
Leo, yeah.
Yeah, fuck you, Leo.
But anyway, the master rework will include all of the NPCs that we got to know and love in the last... Thel, let me goddamn talk, please!
Sorry, go ahead.
All of the NPCs that we got to know and love over the last essentially year from the old expansions, like Einhar. Everybody loved Einhar. They hated the league, but everybody loved Einhar because he was such a cool character, and they put a lot of work into him. Alva Valia and Nico the Mad, who is the current league character. And pretty much everybody knew that this was coming, right? Like, in the last few leagues, they've been introducing new characters who were, like, the master of that league mechanic. And so now, instead of these old Forsaken Masters that were outdated and, frankly, really boring, they're adding these new masters. And whenever you find these masters in the world, essentially in the same way as the old Forsaken Masters, you would just find them in the world. Whenever you find these masters in the world, you'll be able to do that past league's mechanic, like the incursions that everybody was so in love with. And Bestiary is, you know, they made some improvements to Bestiary. But basically, it's really cool, and I really like the idea of it going forward, because every time they come out with a new league, this is a easy and natural way to integrate the league mechanics into Standard League, instead of just like, well, we have to decide whether this league would be too overpowered to add to all of the other shit in Path of Exile. They can just integrate it through this system of Forsaken Masters. So it's really great. They also announced a unified hideout system, so you don't have to remake your hideout. Like if you're one of those people that likes designing your hideout to look cool, you don't have to remake it every league. And of course, a bunch of new skills, a bunch of new items, you know, all of the regular league shit. But I think the Forsaken Master rework is probably one of the best things that they've come up with in a very long time, because that's one of the most outdated systems in Path of Exile.
Yeah,
so,
and replacing it with the fun stuff that they added, like replacing it with just what was essentially 3 leagues is fun and good.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody loved all of those leagues except Bestiary, and so but Bestiary they've had the longest time to iterate on, so they should have it down pat by now. Yeah, it's you know, this continued development of Path of Exile, like games like this are the games that, yeah, I'm going to be not playing Path of Exile for a month or two, but I will always go back to it because of their business model, and it's great, and I love games that do that, you know? So, that's all I really had to say about it. 20 days from today, or 18 days from the YouTube video upload date, the new league in Path of Exile with a bunch of new mechanics being added to Standard League as well, so look forward to that.
Yeah. All right. That's enough Path of Exile. Let's move on.
Right.
Sony is not going to E3 this year.
This is fucking crazy.
Do they have an explanation for that?
No.
Okay. Sony doesn't. So this will be the first time they haven't gone in what did it say, 24 years?
Yeah, something fucking crazy.
Pretty sure Sony's like the only person who's been at every single E3 in the past 20-something years.
I think Microsoft's going to be the only one who's going to have like a live audience. Well, the only one of the big 3, because Nintendo's just going to do a Nintendo Direct, like they did last year, probably.
Yeah, they always do.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, though. Right before, like the day before, I think it was Game Informer's announcement of Sony not doing it. A person leaked that information on Reddit, as well as a bunch of other stuff, including that the reason why they're pulling out of it is because they don't have very many games to show right now, because they're all working on the PS5.
I see.
The PS5 is about 1.5 years out from now, but developers already have access to dev kits.
Okay.
So it sounds like the reason why is because they didn't have anything to show.
I see.
And the only thing that they have, they're working on kind of behind closed doors. So
right. Yeah. That makes sense.
So that sounds like why that's happening, which is kind of interesting.
Sensible, but also kind of crazy to think about, you know?
Yeah. In other weird Sony news.
Oh boy.
I guess, is this weird though?
I think like in comparison to the other news, this is a little weird.
So Sony is cracking down on visual novels. A bunch of games are getting like blacklisted or not approved. Other games are having to go through incredibly strict censorship, way more than they used to the extent that some games had to be edited to be okay, even though it makes them look worse. Like in here, there's a screenshot of a girl with giant light rays covering her hips and chest, but she's wearing a bathing suit. So it looks worse that there's.
So it looks more like she's like naked.
It makes her look like she's naked, even though she's wearing a bathing suit.
That reminds me of that like trend back in like 2004 or something called bubbling.
Oh yeah, the bubbles, yeah.
Where you would like make a picture with bubbles so that it just covered up like their bathing suits, so that it gave them the illusion of being naked, which is like the ridiculous, most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
So yeah, a bunch of visual novel producers have been hit with this. Some of them said that their game could come out next week if they could, but they have to deal with Sony's like approval process now, even though all the port work's been done for it. There have also been like questionnaires going out to producers of visual novels that have also that they've had to fill out information in English for a Japanese publisher, which is weird.
Yeah.
So like the publisher in question that I was talking about said that they already wrote their answers in Japanese. Now they're translating it to English so that they can send it to Sony because they want it in English right now, which is weird. Especially since
doesn't make any sense.
Especially since that's a Japanese title that might not even make it to the United States. So, So apparently, so I don't know. It's kind of funny how on one hand you have Steam going more open and allowing more adult content, and then Sony going the opposite direction, even though they used to be the ones who would put visual novels on the like Vita and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, jeez.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I don't get it.
Anyway, that's weird.
Yeah.
So here's some more information about like leaks and junk.
Okay.
Oh boy.
There's rumors and speculation about a Xbox One coming out with a diskless variant. So it's a digital only version of the Xbox One. And it's supposedly targeting $200, slashing basically 100% retail off of the previous cheapest model.
Right.
So I don't know. Like, I guess it's a digital only version, probably for I guess the people who mostly want to do Xbox Game Pass. I guess. I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's kind of makes sense. Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't make sense.
It seems odd, but there it is.
Yeah.
All right. Sunset Overdrive.
Oh man,
this game is getting ported to PC today. So
I actually got
ported to PC a couple days ago.
A few days ago, yeah. Man,
well, it's hitting Steam soon.
It's on Steam. It's available for purchase today.
Is it on Steam?
Yeah.
Okay.
So interesting because this is a game that I remember from E3 like 6 years ago?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I was just horrendously disappointed that it was console exclusive. And I kept telling myself...
it wasn't just console exclusive. It was Microsoft console exclusive.
Yeah, Xbox exclusive. And I was like, whatever, it's Xbox exclusive, so surely it'll come to PC next year. And then the next year rolls by, and I'm like, well, surely it'll come to PC next year. Surely it'll come to PC next year. And I did that for like 4 years, and then I finally forgot about it. And now, finally, after all these years, they ported it to PC, and I'm so excited to play it. Because I don't remember even what the game was remotely about, but I just remember being so hyped for it when I saw the trailer at E3, because it looked like it had some kind of crazy, wacky humor, and zombies maybe, and the art style was good.
And it's made by Insomniac. Probably the best thing on that list.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
After coming off of Spider-Man, I'm like, yeah, Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's going to be like $20 or something.
Yeah, it is $20 on Steam.
All right. You ready for some sad news following that happy news?
Oh, no.
I don't know how sad this is.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So, Nintendo, through Reggie Fils-Aimé, said that the N64 Classic will not come anytime soon.
Darn.
They're not working on it. They are not ruling out plans for it in the future, but it is not right now.
Yeah.
And with how far most companies, I don't know if Nintendo does this, they probably don't based on their track record, but with how far most companies look into the future, it's probably not in the foreseeable future for anybody.
Here's a quote from him.
Okay.
We've also now been very clear that as the consumer looks forward to engaging with our classic content, that it is going to happen more and more with the subscription service. So it sounds like part of the reason, or this is kind of like a soft confirmation that they're doing something in terms of bringing classic games to the Switch, probably through that classic or the Nintendo online thing.
Right.
Man, I sure fucking hope they do.
Yeah, I hope they do it at a faster clip than like one a month.
Yeah.
Starting with the NES or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll buy another, copy of Link to the Past, but I really wish you would come out with games more faster. I don't know.
Yeah. And since the Switch doesn't use discs, you can't play GameCube games on it. It would be the perfect time to start localizing GameCube games because everybody loved the GameCube. And
plus, it has the power for it. It's not like it doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
Easily.
Although I would probably rather have the remake of Wind Waker, but...
I would prefer more than anything else. All I want to do is play The 1,000-Year Door. That's it. That's the one game that I've ever wanted to play and haven't been able to.
You should... Yeah.
Should just dig up my GameCube and find it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
THQ Nordic. Remember them?
No.
Yeah.
Who?
Okay.
They bought some dudes.
So Nordic are the guys who made Darkstalkers.
Yeah.
THQ is a publisher that went out of business, had to sell all of their development studios. Nordic bought the rights to Deep Silver and a bunch of other THQ properties. Then they bought the rights for the name THQ, and they changed their name to THQ Nordic and bought basically everything that THQ used to have.
And then they made Goat Simulator. Wow. What a fucking resume.
No, then they purchased Bugbear Entertainment, who made Flat Out and Goat Simulator.
Yeah.
Oh no, Coffee Stain. They also bought Coffee Stain, who made Goat Simulator. So
okay.
They now have what was it? What's the number? 35 games in development right now under the Nordic publisher name.
Well, all right.
Okay, hold on, wait. No, I just looked at their logo with Dark Sider's character in it. I think it's Death. When you said they made their best known for, when you said they're best known for Darksiders, I thought that you were talking about Dark Stalkers, which made me much less interested because that's a fighting game. But Darksiders is something entirely different.
Okay, I said Darksiders though.
You did say Darksiders. It made me think of Felicia and Morgan, and so I was like, oh, Dark.
So basically, you started thinking of furry porn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see, Darksiders is more brown, whereas Dark Juice is much more yellowy.
Let's move on.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. Deep Silver, all of them. That's cool.
They bought stuff.
Monster Hunter news.
Oh boy.
I don't know how much. I mean, I might go back to it some more, but they're coming out with Lunastra on November 22nd.
Now,
which is Thursday.
Yeah,
this week.
Saine, I know you didn't fight Teostra, but Thel, how do you like the Teostra fight, all in all?
I am a bowgun user, so it was my least favorite one out of all of the Elder Dragons.
Don't even fucking bother launching Monster Hunter, because Lunastra is just Teostra but blue and girl. It's literally the same fight. So,
and the thing with Monster Hunter is like I put I think maybe like 150 hours into it. I feel like I did everything.
This sounds like news, but honestly, it's really not. It's just a recolor of monsters coming out.
Yeah.
Well,
I wish they would add more.
People might want to know because then they can get recolored versions of their armor.
Yeah, it's true. It probably has different armor skills and stuff. I think that Lunastra actually had armor skills that I was looking at, but when I found out she wasn't in the base game, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And like, man, I want them to add more monsters in it. I want all the monsters in Monster Hunter World.
Teostra and Lunastra are actually two of my favorite monsters in all of Monster Hunter, so this is exciting for me. Not exciting for Thel because he hates that fight in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. It in general, like I said, I came out the gate negative, but it's good that they're continuing to support the game.
Yeah.
I don't know, based on their release schedule, they've kind of been going in the same order as the console versions have gotten. And I think the last thing to happen on console was the Behemoth raid for the Final Fantasy crossover. So
maybe
I don't know if that's going to be the last thing that they do, because they haven't. It's been a good few months since they've done anything for the consoles. So that, what's gonna happen?
I hope they don't do something like release a Monster Hunter World Universe, or like just another one with like high rank or something. You have to fucking pay $60 again because like fuck that. That's terrible.
You mean G rank, and Monster Hunter's always done that, but this is
I know, and I hope they stop.
Yeah.
At least the last one was they released that on a different console.
Yeah.
So at least that's a little bit more forgivable. It's like, okay, they re-released this game, but with more stuff on the Switch instead of
actually most of the Monster Hunter like re-releases that add more content are also on a different console. Like Monster Hunter Tries re-release was on the 3DS instead of the Nintendo Wii. So So usually it's on a different console.
And often it's in Japan only, right?
Yeah, usually. Monster Hunter Tri actually got 2 second releases. One was Monster Hunter Tri Freedom, which was for the PSP in Japan only, and then Monster Hunter Tri G, which was the American release on the DS.
Right. All right, last piece of thing. I don't really know how this is news, but I'll talk about it anyway. So I don't know, a modder? Is that fair to call him?
It's not exactly a mod.
Well,
do you mind if I just
someone created a tool that decrypts nuclear launch codes in Fallout 76.
Right. Essentially the game has been out for 2 days, and somebody has already made a way to just ignore all of the part that gets you to the end game. And it's like, this is like classic fare for online games like this. People always make it just all about grinding, and it's really disappointing to see, because like now people are just gonna go to that website, which the way that the nuke codes work is it is based on an encryption key that has to be decrypted, and of course in the game there's ways to decrypt that, but if you just get the encryption key and plug it into the website, which only one single person has to do because it's the same encryption key for everybody for the week, then you get the launch code and you could just launch the nukes right away. So you're just removing an entire aspect of the game because some guy...
Oh, just one step of that quest, because you still need a launch key card. Right. And you need the like pieces for it, right? So
no, the pieces
you need the fragment. Key. No, you need the fragments of the code, and you need a key card, and then you have to decipher it.
No. That's the thing. The fragments of the code are the deciphered version of the code. So you don't need to collect the fragments. You just need the key card. Because the code is always the same for everybody in a given week. So like it would be pointless to collect the cipher, because the cipher is the same cipher for every player in the game. So once one person finds it, they just plug it into the website and that's it.
Well, I mean, they would still need the key card anyway, but even still, this is I don't know. It sounds like all it really does is get rid of the puzzle part of it, but like I think you still need the pieces. Either way, they might just change it, because it is a live service game, so they might just change the keyword cipher.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting to see like what they're gonna do to combat this in the future, because like no matter what way you slice it, it does remove a whole step of reaching the end game content that they want to be the piece of the game that they want to be the end game content. So like,
yeah, but it's just it's just like the puzzle step, though. It's not like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I haven't actually gotten to nuclear launches or anything. I haven't.
Yeah, and I skimmed that article, and I don't.
But yeah, the thing Dalsson, you were saying is like you fucking hate like, oh, people always do this. I don't like, and like I'm sitting here, I'm thinking it's like I don't really see these as people. I see them as a force of nature, something that a game developer has to battle against. You know what I'm saying? It's like these are the things that make fucking like ArenaNet lose their hair over stuff. This is like the thing that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like parasites.
And even still,
get into your game and bite it.
even still, I feel like you really won't have to engage with this unless you want to.
Right.
Yeah,
because, like, at worst, someone else launches a nuke, but you don't know that they didn't follow the steps to do it, and they still needed the key card at the very least, so I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's just, it's disappointing, but it's like...
And I don't really know how their matchmaking works.
I guess it's Bethesda's fault for not fucking protecting their encryption better or something. I don't know.
No, it's literally a code. They deciphered the code.
Yeah.
No, but it's like a cipher, so anybody could do it. It's not like...
That's true.
It's not like someone broke into their game or anything. They just took out a piece of paper and figured out the cipher.
Right. Yeah.
It was surprising how quickly they did it, but, like, I don't know.
2 days.
Anyway.
I'm not even halfway to the max level yet, and somebody's figured out the fucking nuclear launch cipher.
Yeah, but you've been playing across 2 different characters, and you haven't been playing it nonstop, like some people. But
yeah.
Anyway, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And worst, I mean, if it really affects me, Bethesda will probably just patch something. So whatever.
Yeah.
It's like every week they not only do they change the code, but they also change the cipher, so you have to re-decipher it every time too.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
See, and then that would
they have to hire a code breaker to like
that would be interesting to see them engage in like a meta battle against like people cracking their cipher, you know, like that would
battle against bastards.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. Like they're and then instead of just, oh, somebody cracked the cipher, now it's just free for everybody forever. It's like this meta kind of game behind it, like, oh, how fast can we crack the cipher this week, guys? And then that becomes exciting. But if it's just stays like, okay, well, this is done, and now we're gonna know how to launch nukes forever without having to engage with a step of the puzzle, like, that's gonna be kind of shitty.
Yeah. They'd probably just do it 2 or 3 times until they got bored with it.
Yeah, probably.
Also, I don't think there's anything stopping one person on his own from launching a nuke.
Yeah, no, not really. No. There isn't, but
so you could just never engage with this unless you tried.
Right. You could...
I mean, you could get nuked, but you wouldn't know whether or not they did it the right or not.
Yeah. Because the idea is that people come together and pool their cipher codes, and then together you learn the cipher. That's why it's the same for everybody, so that you can pool your codes together.
Well, I'm sure they would just change the cipher then, because I don't think it's that hard to change how they cipher it. So
probably not, no.
Anyway, that's it for us this week.
All right.
So, what do we have coming up on the channel? I know that I promised last week that I would come out with a video on Friday, but I didn't. Because I was playing video games, and I didn't have time to edit it all the way. So, sorry about that.
Understandable.
It might be brought out into, like, a short 4-episode Let's Play thing anyway, because based on how long it is, I don't think it's going to be, like, 1 or 2 videos. It might be a few, but...
Right.
It's not going to be like 20 episodes the way some of our other stuff is, but But yeah, I don't know. So that might just go on its own day anyway for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have something coming out this week, right, Phil?
Hollow Knight video sluts.
Oh shit. We're coming with Bug Boy. Here we go.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a little bit of the Godmaster. I'm not gonna do all of it.
Okay.
I'm gonna do like a little
bit video about the Grim Troop.
What?
Do you have any plans for a video about Grim Troop?
A little bit. Long story short, what I'm going to do with this is I'm essentially going to break Godmaster up into 2 videos. I'm going to do some stuff that I've already done, and then some of the Godmaster, and then I'm going to do in the next video some of the Grim Troop stuff, and then some more of the Godmaster.
Okay, interesting.
And also some of the Lifeblood stuff. Specifically because there are 2 bosses, i.e. the one from Lifeblood and the Grim Troop boss that I just never got around to fighting.
Right.
So, Dalsson, what games are you streaming this week?
None. Long story short, my work is making me work at 8 a.m. every day this week, so I am not going to be streaming at my normal time. You may catch me if you really want to catch my stream, just follow me and check your email or have the Twitch app on your phone, and it'll show you when I'm going live. But I don't actually plan to stream this week because Thursday, which is my normal day, is Thanksgiving, of course, and then.
Oh shit, you're right. That's fucking coming up. I need to get to cooking.
Yeah, and then the next 2 days I'm working at 8 a.m., which is not only going to make me actually die physically and mentally, but it also cuts into my stream time, which would normally be at 10. So,
you know, though, Dalsson, I start my new job on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, at 8:30. So I'll be on the same time schedule as you. So maybe after work we could just stream Fallout.
Yeah, maybe we could stream Fallout or something after work. That could be cool. Yeah.
All right.
So we'll think about that, but as of right now, I have no plans this week.
Yeah, and who knows how tired I'll be. It'll be the first time I'm working in forever.
This will be the first time I'm working before 1 o'clock in forever.
Yeah, me too.
And also, I feel like streaming during the nights is a good idea.
It is. Afternoon is pretty prime time, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be getting off at like 4-ish. Anyway, thanks for joining us this week. We will see you guys next week, and remember, as always,
stay beautiful.